Alright, y'all, hello and welcome to your sub-lesson for today. So last class you asked for a lesson over something useful. So I planned a lesson that had to do with taxes, how you calculate your taxes, and how you figure out what tax bracket you are in. So I've planned something you have asked for, and I've given you all the resources to complete it fully and with correct answers, so I expect you to utilize them. We'll go with this example problem first. This should be a review from last class. We're looking at percent of a total or part of a whole. So if we read this word problem, it says Betty went shopping. The store was offering a 30% off sale. The original cost of the dress she bought, so the original cost was $45. How much did she save? That's our first question. And how much was the actual cost of the dress? Okay, so let's fill in what we know first. We know that there was a sale of 35%, and we know the original cost of the dress was $45. Okay, so that's what we know. When we are setting up these types of problems, our goal is to set up two fractions that are equal to each other, where it is the part of the total, okay, is equal to the percentage we're given over 100, because percents are always out of 100. So let's see if we can set that up with the information given to answer question 1, how much did she save? Okay, so I know that I'm going to have two fractions equal to each other. I'm going to start with my percentage. So my percentage, I know it's 35%, so it's 35 out of 100. Okay, I know the original or the total cost of the dress, that is 45. What I'm looking for is the part, or the sale price is part of the total price. That's what I'm looking for, so I'm going to write that in as X. Okay? From there, if you've got a single fraction equal to a single fraction, we are going to cross multiply. So I cross multiply. X times 100 is 100x. Then I'm going to multiply these two together. When I do 45 times 35 in my calculator, I get 1575. So that is equal to 1575. Now, x isn't totally by itself yet, and that's what I want to know the value of. So I'm going to divide by 100 on both sides to cancel it out here and have that x is equal to, when I plug 1575 divided by 100 in my calculator, I get a fraction, which I can convert to a decimal by putting a decimal point in the denominator of the fraction. When I hit enter, I get 15.75. So x is equal to $15.75. Okay, so this answers question 1. It means Betty saves $15.75. Okay, that's how much she saves. Well, then let's look at the second question. It says, how much was the actual cost of the dress? So after the sale, how much did the dress she bought, how much did it cost? So we know the original cost was $45, right? We know that the dress originally cost $45. So we're doing our original cost, okay, minus our savings. So my original cost of 45, the total cost of the dress, so the dress she bought, the original cost was 45, minus the amount of savings, which is 1575. If I plug that in my calculator, 45 minus 1575, I get 29.25. Okay, so 29.25 is the new cost with the sale. The new cost with the sale is $29.25. Okay, what you are going to do next is you are going to pause and practice on these 3 problems right here. Check answers on the board in the front. The answer key is on the board to check your answers. So pause and practice these 3 questions here. When you are ready to move on, unpause the video, and we will continue with part 1. Okay, so what we're looking at today, I told you we were going to be looking at taxes, because taxes, especially income tax, is a percent of your total tax. So what I want you to do first is pause and watch this video. It is linked on the Google Classroom post under income tax vid. So watch this video and then come back. Okay, now that you're back, we see that income tax is a percentage of everyone's income, and it is paid to the federal government to pay for some really important support systems and structures. Okay, so these are the things that income tax goes to. It goes to defense and international security assistance. So this is essentially the Army, the Navy, any branch of the military, and U.S. defense. The next one is Social Security. This is a retirement fund that is a full fund for everyone that you pay into for your entire life. And then when you retire, you get benefits from. Medicare and Medicaid are essentially health insurance. And then some other ones, benefits for federal retirees and veterans, so support systems for veterans. And you see education way down here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to see, okay, when we pay income tax, what is that actual money going to, and how much is the government spending on these things? Okay, so last year the government collected 1.7 trillion in income tax. So from its citizens, the government collected $1.7 trillion. Give you some perspective on that. That is $170 billion, which is just a whole lot of money. Okay, so in the table below, show how much money was spent in each category. Okay, so the first one we want is defense and international security. So I'm going to go over here and see defense and international security assistance. That is 15% of my budget. Okay, of my income tax budget is going to defense and international security assistance or national security. Social Security, I see here that 24% is going to it. You can fill in the rest. Okay, so now I'm going to set this up. I know that 1.7 trillion is my total amount of income tax. That's how much money was collected from American taxpayers last year. Okay, so we're going to set this up and figure out, okay, I know 15% of that went to national security, but how much actual money is that? What is the dollar amount of that? So I'm going to set up my fraction. I know that whenever I'm setting up these, it's always the part over the total is equal to the percent over 100. So let's see if we can set that up, okay? The part is what I don't know, so that's going to be X over the total. We're just going to leave that as 1.7, knowing that it's in trillions, is equal to 15% over 100. Okay, from here I'm going to cross multiply here and here. So I get 100x is equal to, when I multiply 1.7 times 15, I get 25.5, divide by 100 on both sides to cancel it out and get x by itself. So if I do 25.5 divided by 100, I get 0.255. Okay, so I end up with x is equal to 0.255 trillion dollars, which is the same thing. I can move my decimal point 1, 2, 3 places. X is equal to $225 billion. So we spent the government spent $225 billion on national or defense and international security. That's $225 billion of the 1.7 trillion they collected in taxes. Okay, so what you are going to do next is another pause and practice. You are going to fill in how much each category, the dollar amount for each category. Okay, so if Social Security is 24% of this 1.7 trillion, how many actual dollars is that? So pause and practice. Check your answers at the front of the room when you are finished. Okay. When you resume the video, what you are going to do is you're going to pause again. You're going to pause, and instead of practice this time, you're going to pause and write. Okay? You are going to answer these questions where it says pause and write. Pause and write. You're going to answer these questions on your lined paper from the front of the room. They need to be incomplete P-L-E-T-E sentences. Okay, these questions, answer them based on your data above on your lined paper. Okay, all incomplete sentences on the lined paper. When you are finished with that, return to the video. Okay. We are back with part 2 of the video. We have looked at, okay, where are our tax dollars being spent, our income tax dollars being spent. Now we're going to talk about 2 different types of tax systems and the pros and cons of each. Okay, so the first type of tax system is called a flat tax system. This means that everyone pays the same tax rate regardless of income. Okay, so what does that look like? If you make between $0 and $9,525 a year, your income tax rate is 10%. The government will take 10% of that. If your rate is between $9,525 and $38,700, you still pay 10%. No matter what your income is, you're paying 10% of it in taxes. Okay, so everyone pays the exact same rate. The other type of system is the progressive tax system, which is the U.S. system. This is what we operate under right now. Okay? The definition of a progressive tax system is the higher your income, the higher your tax rate. Okay, so the more money you make, the larger percent you pay in taxes or income tax. Okay? So for example here, if I'm making between $0 and $9,525, my tax rate is 10%. If I make a little bit more money, between $9,525 and $38,700, my tax rate went up to 12%. If I make between $38,700 and $82,500, my tax rate goes up again to 22%. So as your income increases, your tax rate increases as well. So we're making more money, we're being taxed at a higher rate. So that is the progressive tax system. We're going to see where those names come from when we're looking at graphing these rates. So on the graphs here, on the x-axis, you have the tiers. Okay, on both x-axes, you have the tiers. On the y-axis, you have the rates by tiers. So let's graph this, okay? For tier A, we're paying a 10% tax. So for tier A, we're paying a 10% tax. For tier B, we're also paying a 10% tax. Tier C, we're paying a 10% tax. Tier D, we're paying a 10% tax. E, we're paying a 10% tax. F, we're paying a 10% tax, and G, we're paying a 10% tax. So it's called a flat tax because everyone's paying the exact same thing. The exact same rate, excuse me. Everyone's paying the exact same rate. Okay? So no matter what you make, your rate is the same. Now, looking at the progressive tax, it's a little bit different when we graph it. Okay? When I look at A up here, my rate is 10%. So I go to A, and then I look at that is my 10% rate. Then I look at B, it's a 12% rate. So when I go over to B, I know I have to go all the way up to 12. When I go over to C, I have to go all the way up to 22, which is right about here. For D, I have to go all the way up to 24. E, I have to go all the way to 32. F, all the way to 35. And G, all the way to 37. I didn't quite leave you enough space there, but it's right about there. So whereas this trend is flat, this trend is increasing. It's increasing at an increasing rate, which is our exponential or swoopy function, as y'all called them before. Okay? So we're going to be looking at these two systems a little more in depth, looking at a few different cases. So on to our last page here, we're going to compare these systems. Okay? So for each person, we're going to write their total income tax paid for each system, and then we're going to determine the difference paid between each system. Okay, so this one says, Fernando, I'll zoom in on this a little bit. Fernando is a high school senior. He works a part-time job at a local restaurant. Last year, he made an income of $7,650. Okay, so this is his total income. For the flat system, we need to check what his rate is. So looking back at this page, he makes $7,650 a year. He's in this range here where he makes 10%. So he's at tier A, which is 10% in the flat tax system. Now in the progressive tax system, I'll go on this side. For the progressive system, he makes $7,650 a year. $7,650 a year falls in this range. So he's in tier A in the progressive system, which is 10%. Okay? So we're going to see how that affects his income. Here, it's the same, so we should get the same answer here. Okay, so if I'm looking at calculating this, I know he's got 10% out of 100 has to be equal to a part, which we don't know yet, the tax out of his total income of $7,650. Okay, hopefully this looks familiar by now, but from here I should cross multiply. And I should get 100x is equal to 10 times 7,650 is going to give me 7,650 with an extra 0. Divide by 100 on both sides. X is equal to, when I type that into my calculator, 76500 divided by 100 gives me 765. So x equals 765. So that is his tax amount. He has to pay $765 of his total amount to the government. Okay? Now you'll notice that this one is the same. I'm going to set it up again as 10 over 100 because the rate is the same, is equal to x over 7,650. And again, if I solve, I'll get x is equal to 765. So then we want to find the difference between. Okay? So he paid 765 in the first system, minus 765 in the second system. So his difference, 65, I wrote that wrong. His difference is 0, right? So the system that is better for him, well, Fernando pays the same in each system. So neither is better for him individually. Okay? I want you to do the same for these two here. So you're going to pause and not watch the video. You're going to pause and practice. Yay, pause and practice. Okay? With these two here. Then you are going to look up what is your dream job and its average salary. You are going to Google search this. For whatever your dream job is, you're going to Google search this and write the salary amount down and do the same. Calculate your income tax for both systems and figure out which is better for your dream job. Okay, so pause and practice to complete that. When you are finished, you are going to go back over to your lined paper and you are going to answer these questions in complete sentences. Notice that it says use evidence and justify your responses. You've gathered a whole bunch of evidence here, so I should see these things in your writing. Okay? When you are done with the writing, you are done with the lesson for today. That's it.